Okay, welcome back for episode 2 of Rubber Chickens. Today is October 27th. The Bears have lost in the nail biter, the Broncos have won, and I have finished carving my pumpkin for the Summit Ridge Pumpkin Carving Contest. Looking forward to that. And now, in this episode, we are going to add edge sprites to keep the ball on the screen. Left edge sprite, right edge sprite, and then we're gonna handle the collisions between the ball and the paddle so we can bounce the ball back and forth. All right, let's get started. Let's start with a low-hanging fruit. I think that's adding the edge sprites. I'm gonna go right above my draw loop here, and there's a command, create edge sprites. Boom, done. And that has created the edge sprites. We have to handle the collisions with the edge sprites. Forgot to mention that. So we'll do that next. But let's take a look at what code.org does for edge sprites. We can do that by adding a camera command, camera.zoom, and we'll zoom out to 0.5, like double the distance from the imaginary camera to the screen or the output window, and you'll be able to see these edge sprites. And there they are. They're just 4 rectangles. Now, they're not doing anything right now because we haven't added the code that handles the collisions. So let's do that. And I'm also going to modify these sprites a little bit. And again, we didn't do the lesson on collisions, so I'm going to be using a new function that might be new to you called bounce off, but don't fret, don't worry. I'm going to show you exactly how it works. Actually, I think before I handle the collision with the edges, we need to handle the collision with the player paddle in order to demonstrate that the walls are working, those edge sprites are working. So let's do that first, and it goes like this. If the ball is touching the player, if that's the collision, right? If the ball hits the paddle, then it's going to be moving downward, right, with some positive y velocity. And we're going to reverse that by giving it some negative y velocity to make it bounce back upward. And let's say negative 20. Whoops, this should be ball 1. Let's try that to see if it's working. And indeed it is. We now have a bouncing ball. Okay. I think that also here it would be we need to handle the x velocity of the ball, because the idea that I'm following here is that when the ball hits the paddle, it's going to bounce off at some weird angle, some random angle, and that's kind of the game, like move back and forth to keep it in play. So I'm going to give the ball's x velocity some random value. And I think maybe negative 10 to 10. That should be ball 1. And there it is. And it bounces off the edge. So, oh. That's the idea. So we have to contain this within the screen. We don't have to, but we're gonna. So let's do that next. Oh, one other thing. I'm going to add score right now. Here. And then every time we successfully bounce the ball off the paddle, we should increase score by 1. Score equals score plus 1, or score plus plus is the shortcut for that. We're also going to add some sound later, but we'll wait on that for now. Okay, so we want to make the ball bounce off the left and the right edges. So actually above this, I'm going to say if ball1 dot bounce off left edge. And we'll put a sound in there later. And then also if ball1 dot bounce off right edge. And all we have to do is, it's kind of weird, if you have this command inside of the if, it will make it bounce off. You don't need the if statement there, I believe. Like, I think this would work if we didn't have the if, but we want the if because we're going to play a sound if it bounces. I think that just putting ball one dot bounce off right edge, let's see if that works. Here we go. So left edge works. Yeah. So that command, ball one dot bounce off right edge or left edge, will give you the collision, the bouncing off. You don't need to have it within an if statement. If you do, then when it collides, when it bounces off the edge, you can do other things like play a sound. So I'm going to put this if statement back in. And should we put the sounds in? Let's put the sounds in. That's kind of fun. So with is touching player, I used puzzle game accent Boing 02. Whoa, turn it down. I think it was that. Yep. And put in a semicolon. And then for bouncing off the right and left edges, I used app menu button. App menu button. Yeah. Something kind of subtle, just kind of a bonk. And we're going to copy that down here as well. Nice. All right. Nice. We're almost done for this one. I do want to make a quick change here to the edge sprites, because I know that later I'm going to do some things that modify gravity, namely decrease gravity, which means my balls will bounce higher and they're going to go off the top edge of the screen. And I don't want them to bounce off the top sprite, but I also don't want them to bounce over the edge sprites and go off into infinity somewhere. So I want those left and right edge sprites to be taller. So I'm going to go ahead and change those. And I'm going to do that up top right after I create them. And I just want to change their height. And we do that by using, the variable name, the sprite name, which is left edge and right edge, dot height. These are sprites, right? So they have all sprite properties. So we can modify them in the same way that we would modify any other sprite. And they're currently 400 pixels tall. I'm going to make them twice that size. There we go. And you can see that it definitely made them taller. Good. Okay. Is that it for this one? Seems kind of short. Maybe we should... You know what? I know what we can do. We can write this update score function. I'm going to collapse update ball. I'm going to go down to the bottom here. And I'm going to update score. Might as well, since put the score variable in. So I'm going to just write the word score to the screen and then report the value stored in the score variable. And I might as well also do health while I'm at it. So we're going to fill black. We're going to put that in the upper left corner. And remember, since I put score in quotes, that's interpreted as a text string, so it's actually going to write the word score up there. Then next to it, I want the value stored in the score variable, so I'm going to use my variable score, not in quotes, up there in the left corner too, but a little bit farther to the right. And this little warning says, hey, you made this function, but it's not called in your program. Don't forget that. we're going to go up to the draw loop, and this needs to be underneath draw sprites, right? Because if we create a sprite background or what have you, we want the text written last to the screen after the sprites are created so it overlaps everything. So my function call update score. There we go. Let's see what we got. There it is. Let's take that camera zoom off. I'm just going to comment that out for now in case we want to look at it later. Nice. And the score is working. Oh, I'm also going off the edge of the screen. We can fix that too pretty quickly. So maybe we'll do that too. But while I'm at it down here, I'm going to add health as well. I might change that and not call it health. But I want, to have like 3 chances before game over, so we do need to have some kind of health variable. This is going to go in the upper right corner. And I'm going to get an error that I have not created health yet. Right there. Health hasn't been declared, so we got to go back up top, var, health. Let's put it at 3. Okay, good deal. All right, let's deal with the player going off the edge of the screen because we don't really want to be able to go off the edge of the screen, and I think that's a quick fix as well. Yeah, so that's just 2 lines of code. If we go back up, or down rather, I'm going to collapse update score, and I'm going to open update player. I'm going to go down to the bottom here where I set the velocity x to speed x, and right under that, we're going to do player.collide left edge and player.collide right edge. There we go. And we can't go off the screen anymore. I'm just stopped when I hit the edge. Sprite.collide is that I use there, the player.collide left edge and right edge, is another collision function. And just like is touching or bounce off, there's 4 of these: bounce, bounce off, collide, and is touching, I believe they are. They all behave a little bit differently, but they all kind of do the same thing, which is handle collisions between sprites. It only works for sprites. When you look at your toolbox, you're going to see sprite.is touching target. There's also displays. So sprite.collide target, sprite.bounce off target, sprite.bounce target, displace, overlap. The target here is a sprite. So it's whatever sprite, 2 sprites are interacting. If we go to the documentation, you can read all about how these work. They give examples. And if we go down to the parameters, you can see that target, the type is sprite or group. So it could be a whole group of sprites. Which is also quite useful. I don't think we're going to use sprite groups in this tutorial series. In this game, I wanted to create this one with no sprite groups. But if you are interested in sprite groups, check out my other tutorial series, which I have yet to create, actually, at this time. It's going to be Zombie Hunter. Okay, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. See you later. Bye.